Hello students, good morning. Welcome back to accountancy classes of Sri Mahavir International School. As in our last video, we discussed about the accounting concepts of accounting. And in that video, we have discussed 6 assumptions of accounting. As I told you about accounting principles, these are 2 kinds of principles. The first one, it was accounting concepts or assumptions, and the second one was accounting conventions. So accounting concepts, we have discussed 6, as you are able to see on the screen, that in that video we have completed till accounting period concept. And now today we are going to start 7th concept, that is cost concept. Okay, so let's move the first concept of today and the 7th concept of all the assumptions. So this is our first accounting concept. It is cost concept. What is the meaning of cost concept? According to this concept, an asset is ordinarily recorded in the books of account at the price at which it was acquired. Means which price you have to record in the books of accounts? The price on which you purchased the asset. Suppose that you purchased a building in rupees 40 lakh. So you will record the building in rupees 40 lakh. This cost becomes the basis of all subsequent accounting for the asset, since the acquisition cost related to the past. Acquisition cost means acquired cost on which you acquired the asset. So that asset, that price relates to past. So it is referred to as historical cost. Historical cost means because this cost is related to past, that's why this is called historical cost. This cost is the basis of valuation of the asset in the financial statements. For example, if a business entity purchased a building for rupees 20 lakh, it would be recorded in the books at this figure. Subsequent increase or decrease in the market value of the building would not be recorded in the books of accounts. Try to know this definition in a proper way, as I am telling you with the help of an example here. I am showing you something with the help of camera. Yes, cost concept I am telling you here. Suppose that there is a building and the market value of that building is rupees 50 lakh. Means that building is of rupees 50 lakh, but due to your good skill, due to your good reputation, you are purchasing that building in rupees 40 lakh. The market value of asset is rupees 50 lakh, but you are purchasing the same building is in 40 lakh. It means the asset building will be recorded in the books of accounts in rupees 40 lakh, because this is your skill that you are purchasing the same asset in 40 lakh rupees. You got a discount of 10 lakh rupees. This is a big discount, huge discount. So the asset will be recorded in the books of account at which it was purchased. There is no use of the market value. What is the market value at present time? It is not for any use. The asset will be recorded on the cost at which it was purchased. Okay, one more example in this I want to tell you. Suppose that you are going to purchase a car. Let's take an example of BMW. You are going to purchase a car BMW, that's market value is rupees 70 lakh. BMW's market value is rupees 70 lakh, but that owner of that car, that owner of that company is your friend or is your maybe relative. So due to that good relation, you got the same car in rupees 60 lakh. The car's market value is 70 lakh, this is market value, but you are purchasing the same car in rupees 60 lakh. So at which price will you record the car in your books of accounts? You will record the same car in rupees 60 lakh, because this is your skill. Due to that skill, you are getting the car in 60 lakh rupees. This is the first point of cost concept, that the asset will be recorded in the books of account at which it was purchased. There is no use of market value. Okay. The second point in this, that every year your assets value will reduce. As I told you about depreciation, that depreciation is the reduction in the value of asset due to can be the reason of depreciation due to passes of time. If you are using or not using, that doesn't matter, but if time is passing, so the value of asset will be reduced. Maybe the second point, due to new technology. If there is new technology in the market, so the value of old one will be reduced. As I told you about example of iPhone, so that was also an example of technology. So every asset's value reduce due to passes of time, due to new technology. These are some examples of depreciation. As I told you, only one asset is there, that is land. So there is no depreciation on the land, because you know that whenever you are going to purchase any plot, so day by day, year by year, your plot's value will increase. It will not decrease. So except land, there are depreciation on every asset. Let's take one more example of your personal asset. Let's take example of laptop. Suppose that now you are purchasing a laptop in 1 lakh rupees. Okay. You are using that laptop 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. You are using that laptop. So after 1 year, what will be the value of laptop? Will it be same after 1 year? No. If you are using or not using, that doesn't matter, but after 1 year, your laptop's value will be reduced. There will be a depreciation, that will be a certain depreciation on laptop. It may be 10,000, 20,000, means 10%, 20%, whatever, but after 1 year, it will reduce. Suppose that after 1 year, your laptop's value is 80,000, then after second year, it will be 60,000, then after third year, it will be 40,000, after fourth year, it will be 20,000, and after fifth year, it will be nil. So you can say that after fifth year, there is no value of your laptop. If the efficiency time was 5 years of your laptop, then after 5 years, there will be no value of your asset. Okay, so this is called depreciation. So it was cost concept, that asset will be recorded on that price at which it was acquired. There is no use of market value. And the second point, that the asset value will be reduced year to year. It is the point. Yes, it was our historical cost concept or cost concept. Okay. Let's discuss the next point. It was dual aspect. Sorry. Yes, so our next point is dual aspect concept. What is the meaning of dual aspect? Dual aspect concept means every transaction will be recorded at two places. Means every transaction will give effect on two records, on two accounts. According to this concept, every business transaction is recorded as having a dual aspect. In other words, every transaction affects at least two accounts. If one account is debited, any other account must be credited. Now the point are here, debited and credited. These are also new words for you. What are the meanings of debited, credited? I will explain you these words in the next video. So don't worry about these. The system of recording transaction based on this principle is called as double entry system. Double entry system means every transaction will give effect at least on two accounts. It is because of this concept that the two sides of balance sheet are always equal and the following account equations will always hold good at any point of time. Let's understand in a simple language this concept. Yes. Suppose that you are going to pay salary to your employees. This is your expense. This is a business transaction that you are going to pay salary to your employees. What are the two accounts that will affect due to this business transaction? What are the two accounts that will be affected due to this business transaction? The first account will be salary account. Means you are paying salary. Salary is expense. Sorry. Salary is expense for you. So first account that will be affected due to this transaction, that will be salary account. And second account, how will you pay salary? Obviously you will pay salary in the form of cash. So the second account will be affected, that will be cash account. First account, that is your expense, and second account, that how you are paying that salary in the form of cash or in the form of check. Suppose that if you are giving check to your employees, then on the place of cash the account will be affected bank account, because checks are always related to bank. So that you can see in the same point that salary, this is a business transaction that you are going to pay salary to your employees. So two accounts will be affected, that is salary account or bank account. In the same way, suppose that you are purchasing goods for your business. You are purchasing goods for your business. So what two accounts will be affected from this transaction? Before moving on, you should clear this point, that are you purchasing goods on cash or on credit? If you are purchasing goods on cash, at that time the first account will be affected, that will be purchase account. AC, that is account. So purchase account, this is the first account, because what you are doing, what is your action, that is purchase. So first account, that is purchase. And second account, if you are purchasing anything, then in the return of purchase you have to pay cash. If you are purchasing cash, then the second account will be affected, that is cash account. And suppose that if you are going to purchase on credit, then the second account will be affected, creditors account. Creditors means the person from whom we are purchasing the goods. Okay. So like this way, every transaction will affect at least on two accounts, and this system is called double entry system. As I will tell you later, but just in short I want to clear here. Like here two accounts are here, purchase account or cash account. If one account will be debit, DR, that is debit record, so the second account will be credit, that is CR, means credit record. These are the full forms of debit and credit. So whenever two accounts will be affected, one account will be debited or second account will be credited. But remind this point that every transaction will give effect on two accounts. One account will be debited or second account will be credited, and this system will be called double entry system. And one point is also here, balance sheet. What is the meaning of balance sheet? We will discuss later about this also. Just I am telling you only briefly that what is the meaning of balance sheet. Actually, balance sheet will be a statement that includes all the liabilities and all the assets of a business. And due to this concept, due to this double entry system, your balance sheet will be always equal. Equal how? Means the total of liability side and total of asset side will always be equal only due to double entry system. And one equation is here, asset is equal to liabilities plus capital. This equation we will discuss in the next chapter. This is very interesting chapter, and this chapter includes numerical questions also. So assets is equal to liabilities plus capital. What is the meaning of this? That a business assets are always equal plus liabilities plus capital. Means in balance sheet we always show one side asset and the another side liabilities and capital. So this concept, this equation is also based on double entry system. So meaning of double entry, that every transaction gives effect on two transactions, two accounts, that calls double entry system. Okay, it was your dual aspect concept. Let's move on the next one. So your next concept will be revenue recognition concept. What is the meaning of revenue recognition? Revenue, we already cleared this term. What is the meaning of revenue? Revenue means the sale proceeds, actual sale proceeds. So revenue means the amount which is added to the capital as a result of business operations. Revenue is earned by sale of goods or by providing services. Sale of goods or by providing services. If you are selling goods, then by sale of goods you will get revenue. If you are a service provider, then by providing services you will get revenue. Concept of revenue recognition determines the time or the particular period in which the revenue is realized. Revenue is deemed to be realized when the title or the ownership of the goods has been transferred to the purchaser and when he has legally become liable to pay the amount. Means, when should be deemed to receive a revenue? If you are transferring the right of goods to your purchaser, in that condition, revenue is deemed to be realized. Let's take an example. One example is here. For example, if a firm gets an order of goods on 1st January, supplies the goods on 20th January and receives the cash on 1st April. You have 3 dates that you are getting an order on 1st January, but you are supplying the goods on 20th January and receiving the cash on 1st April. You know that 1st April is the date after our financial year, because our financial year ends on 31st March. So we are receiving cash after ending the financial year. You can say that in the next year. So the revenue will be deemed to have been earned on 20th January. What is the meaning of this date? 20th January. Because on 20th January you have supplied the goods, you have transferred the right of goods to your customer. So the revenue to be deemed on 20th January, as the ownership of the goods was transferred on that day, because you have transferred the ownership of the goods on 20th January. Okay, so this is revenue recognition concept. Let's take one more example in this. Suppose that you have clothes shop. You are selling clothes at your shop, and you know that your financial year is going to end on 31st March. You checked the stock on 28th March. You are checking the stock on 28th March and you found that there is a lot of stock that may be best for us in the next financial year due to new fashion or due to some competition markets. So you got an idea for this, that if I sold these goods, in the form of sale, you know about sale, that if there is a lot of stock, that is old fashioned, so some shopkeepers sell that goods in same price of all the goods. If any shirt is of rupees 300, so that will also be sold in 200. If any shirt is for 900, so that will also be sold in 200. That is sell. So on 28th March, you are using a sell offer to the customer that every shirt has price of rupees 200. And due to this sale, in 2 days only, you got a revenue of rupees 30,000. Try to know this point, that you are selling the goods of rupees 30,000. You have sold shirts of rupees 30,000, but you are not receiving the cash, because you are saying to your customers that just take these old shirts only in 200 rupees. But amount you will not you did not receive till 31st March, amount you are receiving after 31st March. But before 31st March, you have sold the goods. So in this case, revenue is deemed to be realized because you have sold goods. It doesn't matter that you received cash or not. You have sold goods, it means you have transferred the ownership of the goods to your customer. So it means revenue is deemed to be realized. But suppose that in the same case, if you are saying to your customer that take the shirts, and if there is no sale, and if there is no sale by your side, you can return me. मीन्स आप कह रहे हैं कस्टमर से कि आप ले जाइए, अगर आपके सेल नहीं होता है देन यू कैन रिटर्न मी. And till 31st March, you did not receive the confirmation that the customer will confirm your goods or not. So till 31st March, revenue is not deemed to be realized. Means till now आपने सिर्फ ऑर्डर दिया है, आपने सिर्फ कहा है अपने कस्टमर से कि आप ले जाइए, एंड इफ देयर इज नो सेल देन यू कैन रिटर्न. बट टिल 31st मार्च वो आपको कंफर्मेशन नहीं दे रहा है कि वो आपके गुड्स को रखेगा या नहीं रखेगा. इट मीन्स अभी तक आपकी ऑनरशिप भी उसे ट्रांसफ़र नहीं हुई है. दैट मीन्स रेवेन्यू इज़ नॉट डीम्ड टू बी रियलाइज्ड. सो रेवेन्यू is deemed to be realized only in that case when you have transferred the ownership of the goods to your customer. It doesn't matter that you received cash or not. Okay, this was our revenue recognition concept. Let's take next concept, that is matching concept. What is the meaning of matching concept? This concept is very important for correct determination of net profit. Correct determination of net profits. According to this concept, in determining the net profit from business operations, all costs which are applicable to revenue of the period should be charged against that revenue. What is the meaning of this point, this definition? Let's take an example. Suppose that you are purchasing a pen in rupees 8. You are purchasing a pen in rupees 8 and you are selling the same pen in rupees 10. So if you are showing your income, that is 10 rupees in your accounts, so the price of the same pen, 8 rupees, will also be shown in the accounts. Sometimes it happens that accountant does not show the expenses. It shows only incomes. Why it is so? Just for showing higher profits. Because if you don't show expenses, then automatically your revenues, your profits will be higher, because there is no cost of the same points, same transactions. But this is not a way, this is not a good way of accounts. So account every time says this point, that if you are showing the revenue in the accounts, so the expenses related to that revenue will also be shown in the books of accounts. Otherwise, your accounts, your statements will not show the actual position of the business. That will show higher profits, but actually you don't have higher profits because you did not show the expenses. So this is called matching concept. Matching means you have to match your revenues and expenses. This will be called revenue or matching concept. Like one point is here, when an item of revenue is included in the profit and loss account, all expenses incurred on it, whether paid or not, should be shown as expense in the profit and loss account. On the basis of this principle, outstanding expenses though not paid in the cash are shown in the profit and loss account. As I already told you that if you are not paying any expenses, so that will be shown as outstanding expenses in the books of accounts. So this is your matching concept. Let's move on the last concept of this point. And that last concept is your objectivity concept. What is the meaning of objectivity? This concept requires that accounting transactions should be recorded in an objective manner. free from the personal bias of either management or the accountant who prepares the accounts. Means your accounting informations, your accounting transactions should be recorded in objective manner. That there should not be any interference of accountant, of management, whatever. Means any person from the business, if he is purchasing any goods, if he is going to purchase any goods from the market, so he should have the verifiable document. Suppose that you are going to market and you are paying electricity bill, so you must have proof of this payment. You must have the proof of this payment so that your accounting information should be verifiable. Are you getting my point? It is possible only when each transaction is supported by verifiable documents and vouchers such as cash memos, invoices, sales bill, paying slip, correspondence, agreements, etc. Let's take an example. When the goods are purchased for cash, the transaction must be supported by cash receipt for money paid, and if the goods are purchased on credit, the transaction must be supported by a copy of invoice or delivery challan. Invoice is the word related to credit purchase. If you are purchasing in cash, so you must have a slip of this cash payment. If you are going to purchase on credit, you must have a copy of your invoice, because these slips, these receipts are a proof of the payment, are a proof of transactions. There should not be any such type of point that I am a trustable person here, so I don't need any receipt, I don't need any voucher, I don't need any proof. No. These are just personal bias of accountant or management. So every business transaction should be supported by vouchers, verifiable documents. Otherwise, accountant or management can do fraud also. If you don't take any voucher, if you don't support your transaction with verifiable documents, so accountant or management can do fraud also. They can do as they want. So this is objectivity concept. So as we discussed, total 11 concepts. These are the first part of accounting principles. Out of these 11 concepts, 3 are fundamental concepts. Basic concept that every business has to follow. These basic concepts are going concern concept, consistency, and accrual. These are basic concepts that every business has to follow these, and the remaining 8 concepts are other accounting assumptions that is not compulsory for every business. If they want, they can. So these 11 concepts we have discussed in today's video, and now in the next video we will discuss about the second part of accounting principles, that are accounting conventions. Okay, that's all for today. Thanks a lot.